Hello, everyone, and welcome to another World of Sasquatch. This is more of an impromptu one, but there was some planning in this. We knew relatively what the topic was going to be. Uh, we thought it was going to be a more lifting episode, but the forest people uh, wanted to talk on this one. So, uh, this show is being recorded on 2/3/24. So this is actually going to be very, very interesting. But as always, I open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in, to let them love you and nourish you and bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to join us, benevolence with no conflicting agenda, to come in to allow for this conversation to be heard freely without conflict and allow people to be able to actually hear this conversation and be able to take it into their own thoughts and again process it and see how it affects their lives.
Mhm.
I ask for malevolence or mischievous beings to be kind of swept away to allow for this conversation to be heard without interference. And so, with that, and with always the great blessings we send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it. And I already see Fuma, Vitos, and several others here. So, and Seymour, hello. So what the topic is, and it's interesting how it fell into the Sasquatch category because this affects them too. This is a concept that I have noticed, and you'll see some other videos that I'll attach to this where I've been logging where this has been affecting both the human world and the ghost world, where I call it the Dumbining. And you may have heard me refer to that on GIC in the past as a term, seeing some just people around you just making absolute stupid decisions. They can't focus on simple things. And ghosts are the same way. In the past, when you told them to leave your house, that's all that was really required. They would leave, or beings would leave. This seems to be vastly different now, where you tell them to leave, you can put your hand up, say, walk away, and they just keep moving. Or they harass you, or they get really scared. I mean, the fear level's high too, or they're afraid of hell. That's normal. That's one of the normal things that's out there with the religious constructs that are out there. But this blob of energy, well, I said this on the little videos, but I'll kind of sum up what my mother was picking up on this blob of energy coming from space that the planet was passing through this fart cloud, and it this fart cloud was making everybody insane, and full of anxiety, and the binary network through the moon, through the full moon this last time, that was absolutely horrendous. That full moon this last time, mixed with some of that fart cloud. And over time, you may have noticed since even 2020, you may have noticed, especially since then, there has been this absolute, disregard uh, for how things used to be, disregard for certain rules, disregard for how even business etiquette is, disregard for even some basic intelligence that's out there. And I'm not saying everybody's like this, but I'm seeing this across the board. People on social media are saying it, independent of us, that would know nothing about us whatsoever. And you have a real concept when you see it across the board from people you don't even know. Uh, and I nicknamed it the Dumbining because even a friend of my mother's went back to work, noticed people around her, and she said, "No, this isn't the same place we left. These people are too scattered." And we even did a couple discussions on back on Patreon, and I may include those in a longer version of this recording on the subscription. But we had the scatterbrainness of our times, and we had the darker side of the harmonic convergence. And this is what the Force people just said. Focus on this portion of this. In that discussion, I talked about a dream that I had, that I was in the 80s, like 1980, 1981. I was sitting in a movie theater, and everything was peaceful, everything was fine, everything. This is why people want to go back to the 80s so badly. Why? That's when the energies were undiddled with. Um, and I don't want to say because over the past several thousand years, of course, people have been, beings have been manipulating the energies and genetics forever. That's not what I'm saying. Before the next hit of that energy, the the 80s were pretty peaceful. But when you started in the dream, I started going into the 90s, and I noticed this. It was like turbulent. Then whoever was showing me this fast forwarded to now, relative now, and it was absolute chaos, showing me the scale of progression of this energy. And some people go, "Oh, it's the Earth shift doing this. It's going to cause chaos before there's peace." Okay, I'm not a complete proponent of there must be war before peace, even though Roddenberry was the one that came up with that concept. In Star Trek, I'm not really a proponent completely of that. He also came up with the concept of as a society is not judged on their ability to make war, but their ability to prevent it. So you have both sides of that coin. This energy, though, the way I felt it was people were just becoming scatterbrained. It's like, what, where am I? What's going on? And some people attribute this to some cosmic waves coming in. And those cosmic waves are artificial, folks. This is binary network. These are the very 5G towers that are around you. Some of the former insiders out there kept saying, "Oh, that's being filtered through the raw spheres and stuff like that in the day, or sphere being alliance type of thing," where they were fading as far as the weaning people off of these crazy waves. No, as I said on the Q&As back in the day, those spheres are generating this field, not blocking it and not filtrating it. This is what's going on right now. Even though there's some cosmic waves going on, they are amplifying some other nastiness that is around. This is what is currently going on. All of you, if you've noticed this behavior, let me know. Even in some of the recordings, I talked about even the guy that drove off the pier here in Virginia Beach. You'll see the discussion I had there, where I went into detail as to why it affected me, but as to things that decayed around this person is what they were describing to me in ghost form. They said their whole world was decaying. Business world is decaying. You're seeing the entropy. It's linked into both the entropy conversation and the Nebelwerk conversation that we've had before, because it is bringing about that catharsis or that change in the genetics as well as what we were was triggering that, where people are going through that catharsis. So it is both on the entropy of self, entropy of planned entropy of civilization, and on the Nebelwerk side of the conversation. So I saw it as hitting all of those points at once. And so this expands more into this Dumbining concept. And I personally have been very frustrated at this. And this also doesn't seem to discriminate whether the person was knowledgeable before or not. There are some people that are outside of this where it really doesn't affect, and those are the people that are left standing when this it's still sane after all this. There were completely good people even before COVID started, before all of this. And adding all that, the COVID argument is an vaccine argument is also interwoven into this conversation as well. On the other end of this, or in the middle of this Dumbining, these same people have completely changed. And some people blame that purely on the vaccines. And they're not wrong in that respect, with the shedding, with also some of the COVID alterations, of health, heart associated health conditions, with all of the above. But there's also mental that goes along with this. So it's a component. And the Orions were known for implanting a virus just so they would come up with a cure so they could continue subjugation. That happened on other worlds out in the galaxy, from what I understand. But with that aside, that conversation aside, these energies itself are causing people that normally would stand their ground 1 minute to become complete and utter cowards the next minute. And it's not because of just the politics, it's a susceptibility to this field. And you may have been knowledgeable before, but you're either susceptible or you're not, or you can gain an immunity to this. But friends of mine have not noticed people just decaying mentally around them. And we were even, Bjorn and I were even warned that we would see the world burn around us. This is what was meant by this. Uh, and that was the entropy conversation and also the internal portion, the Nebelvert conversation. So if you want to touch on those episodes are up on the YouTube currently. This will be on the World of Sasquatch's Rumble, but we can also put copy over on the YouTube as well. So that this is where I'm at with this. I described all the ghost logs that I did in these other recordings where I stated what I was seeing, the behavior I was seeing in people. I was analyzing like what parts of the mind were decaying, they're becoming more susceptible to mind control. But it was weird to see it on the ghost side too. But then you have to remember they're us. And we also had the conversation before this on the nature of ghosts as well, and we brought in some of that Dumbining conversation into that. So that leads from there to this. But I'm focusing on more how it's affecting people and people around you. If anybody has seen this, put the comments in the comments below and seen this around, because they'll see a perfectly good person all of a sudden buckle for absolutely no reason. I mean, of course, there's mind control, there's the focused V2K technology. That's also part of this. But all that aside, there's still this energy, regardless of whether you believe in the ascension narrative, which I don't anymore, regardless of whether you believe in the massive Earth shift, which I'm on the fence. You know, that's up there with climate change and all that other stuff. There's still something going on energetically, regardless of where you are in the belief system. There's still something going on. Some people even argued that these times were the rapture. I can't completely disagree with that from Revelation, because even though that was the outlandish portion of it, that's more like the Thanos Marvel version of it that they go at. This is still a time of change, regardless of where your belief is. And I'm not blind. I may see all the scams going on within this concept, but it's like somebody's trying to distract you away from the real concept, just like I was being distracted away from the concept of the guy on the pier. And you'll see those in those little videos. I don't want to go into that, but you start to see these things pop up more and more as certain energies are having to find their way out of this, or to get recombobulated or redistributed in some fashion. So, Joanna?
So one of the things that since we started doing these shows in 2017, that we were trying to help people understand in general was the concept of the experience that people were having. Now, one of the things when people were worried about all of these negative things and all of these horrible things that could happen to us, we often mentioned that it's because it already did happen to us. So in the duality that we were in, good versus evil, and having these type of domination and control versus freedom kind of duality issues, one of the things that we've said from the very beginning is that a lot of the memories and fears that people have is because we already did it. It's like we already went down the toilet first.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we were trying to say is that, you know, and we've been saying this for years, this is kind of a moment in time, probably since people say the energies were changing, probably since 2012, a moment in time to decide, is society and people's experiences of their oversouls, whatever, going to decide to go down the toilet again?
And people come from different war times, like World War I, World War II, and they're coming back and like they're deciding they don't want this.
Right. Or is this a time to go into a new experience? The new experience that we've been talking about is one of more understanding better what unity means. Unity does not mean being identical. Unity, you know, means, again, what people sometimes think of what the freedom is or should be in the United States, where you can have different cultures and different belief systems, but you agree on enough fundamentals to be able to allow people to have their ways, to have their cultures, but again, on a worldwide kind of setting. So I think one of the issues is, again, in these times we were going through, is that we've had discussions before in the past, so I am curious to hear the forest people talk about, do they still agree that it appears that that the experiences that people want, their souls want, is more of changing the experience that we're having now to move it towards more of a different new experience, more of that unity and understanding. And again, preparation to be able to go out larger into the galactic community. But we have to understand the community we live in, including the concepts. I think you call it the introverse.
Introverse,
sorry.
That's the world within world. Right?
So to understand all of the different layers that are actually around us to then prepare us. So
the introverse and the multiverse play a huge role.
Right. So to start beginning to understand different concepts, but to understand the dynamics of what has been a part of the experiences that we have been having. Again, domination and control plays a huge part of that. Co-creating in a way that is not helpful to yourself, but helpful to someone else is a part of that. And you have to know that it's going on. You have to understand the dynamics about it, and then be willing to take in new information, pulling the curtain behind, up and seeing the Wizard of Oz, seeing all of these things to then be able to make choices to change and to do whatever. So, but there is, again, the duality still exists. It's not like people are just going to set aside in their domination and control, okay, and bow and say now to your new experience. They're not giving it up. So you have, again, and we've been speaking about this since we started speaking in 2017 about these kind of concepts that are going on, and how, again, galactic history is very important, because it's not, what's going on isn't new. This is something in dynamics and a playbook that's been utilized for hundreds of thousands of years, if not even longer. And so to understand these dynamics and is very important, to be able, again, to give perspective, to help people now put out what they really want to experience. Now, it doesn't mean that people and souls can't decide, I think I've learned everything I need to learn. Maybe they're not planning on coming back and having any new experiences. These energies then are kind of really playing hard on people, including, again, all of the conversation that is out there on the internet by medical professionals and scientists, now looking even more closely, and the conversations are being allowed. I think it's because some of it is, it's too late. People that had, vaccine, or people that caught COVID multiple times, they're having a slew of problems. Some of the predictability would be with RNA type of changes, that neurodegenerative things is known to be a part. If that's changed and altered, neurodegeneration issues occur. So when we're talking, again, the energies, the dumbing effect, adding, did you have the vaccine or have the disease multiple times, that what I call that dumbing effect has a lot of things potentially that are going on with a person that are contributing to some of that. And it may not be obvious, you know what I mean, that these other issues could be the combination of all these things could be a contributing factor, including what are we passing through as the Earth's traversing.
Yeah, and also one could argue that those chains of events were distractions against this thing in particular. Even gearing people's genetics up to withstand or be more susceptible in some cases.
That's the interesting thing about the conversation. So we can have this conversation that we feel these dynamics are going on, that we feel that, there's been a decision, let's say, by, in general, people's soul on a soul level to want to move from a different experience into something else. We can say all that, and we can say that we know that of something in domination, in control, wouldn't want to give it up. Why would they? They are that, and why would they? Then you also then get into the aspect of what is actually being done to, in a sense, I'm going to have to say, break people down, open people up, do whatever, which is actually, even though uncomfortable, a benevolence part of this coming in to help do what needs to be due for these changes as well. So I think for especially maybe those of you that are new to hearing some of our conversations, we've been talking about this and the waves and the flows and the ebbs for actually many years now. And so sometimes I think to follow us, I think Chris has other shows that we've talked about up on, that may be multiple years old, that actually give bits and pieces of this information.
Yeah, we
So
were picking up on it then, and like with the darker side of the harmonic convergence, that one described it pretty perfectly. That one in particular is going to actually make its way back up on one of the sites because that was very
yeah.
prevalent.
So again, I think, for us to sit down and have these types of conversations, and to bring in again and have conversations with those people that their feet are on this earth as well, whether or not vibrationally we see them in front of us or not, that you would think that some of these energies coming in have to be having an effect, and what's going on with them, and then what is their perspective of what they're seeing overall. Again, the issues with some of the conversations about a mass awakening, or some of the other issues that are going on, the event, the shift, it is very difficult, in my humble opinion, to describe so many factors that are coming into play to, have people start to make changes within themselves to allow for this new experience. So what I think I'm tending to believe, I think you're tending to believe some of it as well, is that people in the past have done their best to describe something that they also felt was coming, just like we've been trying to describe something that we feel has been coming. I think what the difference is that you can try to express something and do it in a simplistic way that people somewhat understand. And then the experience begins to occur. And it may not be anything like you were hoping it was. Let's just say that, that there is some truth into what was being said before. But in all honesty, I can even certainly see, and I think we've experienced people coming in to chat with us. They have no desire to scare the bejesus out of you. They have no desire, because again, many of the souls that are here right now are here and potentially knew in advance that this experience was going to occur, and they wanted to be here and grow from it, and maybe even dump a lot of karma from the past from it. I call it karma, whatever you want to call it. Dump a lot of garbage that no longer was needed out of their selves, or on behalf of the oversoul, a bunch of experiences, to be able to now prepare for something new. It is extremely complicated. I personally don't believe that anyone could have really had their finger on exactly what was going on if you were incarnate here. I don't believe that the people, let's say the channelings and the guides that they were talking to, wanted to share information that could change your perspective, or give you information that would have scared you, where you would have resisted and said, well, you know what, we'll just do this instead because now I'm afraid. I think that type of information the people were channeling would have been very careful not to describe some of the things that are going on right now, because it could have altered, even though you knew beforehand. It's like, I want to have a baby until you feel your first big labor pains. Then you don't want to have the baby anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I think some of that scenario also going on, because writing a book, writing a script, putting a play together is nothing compared to the real life experience of going through it. And I do believe that a lot of different things have occurred. Some would say would be a malevolence. Some would say it was a benevolence to allow for the ship, for these different breakdowns that need to occur. I do question, and again, another question that we'll talk about, I think today, it's very difficult to give predictions, but because of the entropy that we've been seeing, I don't know what to say about that to people. Maybe it's not a good idea right now to, put all in to start into a small business. Maybe now really isn't the right time. I would put caution into thinking about it, that maybe, again, because of the dynamics that are going on, patience and waiting and just shoring up what you had, maybe that is more appropriate right now. But I do also believe that there's going to be souls here or there that are meant to push through it and succeed. So it's a difficult conversation. I think the best that we can do is just have the conversations to let you know what we're seeing. But again, I have to stress, this isn't new. We've been talking about these kinds of issues for many years now, well before COVID ever even showed its light. And what we're doing now is, I think, seeing all of the, more factors than we could have ever imagined that are playing a role within it. So I just want to give some bigger context to these conversations that we're having, because I think sometimes people can, just happen to listen to a show and they don't understand we've been doing this publicly since January 2017. And a lot of this we've been discussing, in the biggest, broadest picture we can try to present to help people in their understanding, which in the end, we believe will help people understand more about co-creation, making better decisions, knowing how it works, so that you can cope and be better during these times that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and also, I won't go into it too much, but yeah, there has been a fairly big struggle trying to get people to notice some business things, and I've talked to other people as well, and they were in that same boat, and it's this people just lose focus, or it's basically tire kicking to the extreme, I want to say, but in this case, it's the energies. Like, say if you had a shop, and say if one person after another just came in, touched everything, and left, you'd be pretty frustrated. Uh, and that went by month after month. But imagine also if the people walking down the street didn't even enter, walk in the door. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And some people have had to close theirs because of this. And it's just been this whirlwind of not being able to focus, not being able to pay attention. And I personally have been very frustrated with it because I have seen it. You can even talk to people that are under that extreme influence, and they're just all over the place. They can't focus. They can't, or if you show them, and I even said this in one of those little recordings, but we even show. I've even seen people look at like the GIC sticker or the lifting sticker or something like that, that Merkaba symbol, look at it and just get really, really, really confused. And they're like, what's going on here? Or they'll stop.
This is the symbol.
Yeah, this is the stop. Yeah, this is it right here, or one variation of it. But then it tries to undo this, tries to undo some of this programming. Yeah. And then people they're like, it's just odd. If people are running into this, please put in the comments below, because I feel this is global, but that's me. But some people think they're isolated and running into this. They think they're going crazy when they're seeing this. You're not. If you're seeing this. So, and even like I said, people that were good previously before are becoming weird, and this is what's going on right now. Some people attribute, like I said, cosmic waves, COVID, all these other little distractions, and I think you're going to find out there is beyond all these narratives, you're going to find out that there's something far more here going on than any of the narratives, including the disclosure narrative that's out there. You're aliens a whole bit. You're going to find out there's a lot more to this that we're not being told yet.
And I do have to say one thing truthfully. I know when Chris expresses himself, he's talking about people being dumb. We're having our moments too. I really don't want to come across as saying, oh, we're great and everyone else is having dumb.
We've had times where it seeps in a little bit too.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is that I don't know that there are many humans walking the earth. Like we said, we've got the Sasquatch here to talk about what's going on with them. That one way or another, or moments here and there that you're not being affected. I think it would be foolish of you to think you have gone to a point to think that you can't have moments in this too. So I know how, I just wanted to say that because I know how, Chris is trying to describe things, but we are not creating we versus them.
No.
No, everyone is, having different levels of how they're being affected by this. So I just really want to put that out there.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're at the part, Fuma keeps doing this, meaning that's symbol for time. So this okay, let's see here. Get out comfortable here. Okay. Fuma, yes, true benevolent Fuma here. The energy is becoming more enriched. When the forest people are around, it becomes more enriched. Even doing the crystal grid like we did here on the property, and I've also described that in those videos. We did one of those, and I highly recommend making one of those. Mixed with the orgone pieces we do. Okay. It's making me itch, Fuma. What's going on? Okay. Okay. True benevolent Fuma, yes. To the crystal, please, if you don't mind. Indeed, what you say is true. We find it comical that it is being called the Dumbining because we actually see this happening. He's actually making fun of a movie called The Happening, where it was actually a wave of energy that was that the plants were generating and making people stupid and in survival mode. So he's actually making fun of M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening when he says the Dumbining. So this is what we're laughing about because it in the movie it was trees doing it. In this case, it's the furthest thing from it. That's why there's the joke. I know if you have to describe a joke, it takes away its potency, but there is what it is. In this, this concept of these waves, and you are correct, it is all of these things and more. You are going to come to find, it's going to come to pass that any of these narratives you've seen, including the Ascension narrative, the 5D narrative, from the Galactic Federation of Light narrative, to any of these narratives that are out there that are playing a fairly large role in the distraction, including your disclosure narrative, I might add. And it is important, of course, that you are introducing ETs in your society. Not a bad thing. But as Elaine and Vess said, you're going to find that 9/10 of what people have been running into is introverse and multiverse related. And yes, there are, of course, aliens doing this. Even the worlds that Isaac spoke about in GIC in times past, of the worlds of the solar system. This was the introverse he was referring to, but you guys had no word for it. So they're not necessarily planets, they're worlds. And yes, they are planets nesting down, but that's not the conversation. Yes, there are an alignment of spheres or the conjunction of spheres like in Witcher, and you're seeing that more and more. That's part of it. But yes, there are other waves like a fart cloud in space, as he says. Yes. Are these spheres out in space also generating these AI spheres generating this through your moon? And times of the full moon are more susceptible to craziness. Yes. What is actually going on here? And how is it affecting? Yes, it is taking away intelligence. Are they trying to cause people to harm one another and judge one another and divide from one another? Yes. This is why this must be noticed most of all right now. This is, of course, divide, conquer, and control. But what is the nature of the energy that is causing people to dominate? Is it a universal effect that is taking place? Is it something, an earth shift that is going on? Is the earth going through its own catharsis? Yes. And just like in your Nebelberg conversation, are some people going through this transformation? Absolutely 100% yes. But is this wave triggering some of it? Yes. Was there some altruism back in your 2020 to give some immunity to some of these things? Yes and no. He was actually correct when he said the disease and the vaccine were caused were from the same cause. The fireman being the arsonist. The same goes with these energy waves, I might add. The experimenters that activated this field or amplified what was out there already had in their minds that they wanted humanity a particular way and wanted humanity at a particular number, at a particular time, in a particular fashion, in a particular culture. This is impossible. Or switching to one culture, one people, which you are. You are humans, but you also have your all different ways of doing things. Even our people are the same way. Having that forced entropic unity, we'll say and call it, as of this moment in time, is impossible. You see the entropy happening around you. You see this decay of energies happening around you. You see these energies also with ghosts being integrated into that Dumbining. Some things are holographic. Other things are actual ghosts. You have been seeing actual ones that are not only being weaponized against you by some of these ET forces throwing them into your space to irritate you, as you've seen before, and also the soul trade is actually kicked up in high gear as well. This is another attribution to this. There's wars of attrition going on from different groups. This is also affected. But the Dumbining itself is a field that has been placed upon you that is actually taking your very thoughts and convoluting them into a babbling brook. And what I mean is this. You have the narratives that get crammed in your head, yes? You also have energies from the multiverse and introverse that are also you're connecting to other multiversal selves and other timelines. You're also jumping some timelines as well, and also seeing other attributes of your oversoul that exist in the same time frame as yourselves. And he has seen this with the man on the pier as well. This is also taking place. This particular thing is speeding up because of an artificially induced energetic blob that is taking natural cosmic rays, feeding them into an amplification cycle, and aiming them specifically at the people of Earth. This includes us. This makes it so that there is a distractive divide against all of these things. It is essentially the fireman and the arsonist being one and the same. Yes, are they creating things that could get you through those cosmic waves and maybe gain people that are left some immunity beyond the other side of this? And also getting rid of what they think is riffraff with the entropy and the beast of many eyes, that whole conversation, the AI. Yes. Is this right, what they're doing, no matter what the reason is? No. We do not condone this. Trying to get humanity prepared to be more of a spacefaring society in the Galactic Federation and going through all the diseases, cosmic waves, nanoviruses, and concepts all crammed into one shitstorm. You call it a shit show. This is wrong, what is happening, because you're already on a temporal nexus where you're encountering different timelines and different waves, and also some of your own past life selves, your own garbage, your own things. There is this extreme overage here in this other narrative that is taking place. That is one of the main things taking place now. Nobody has talked about this particular concept before, where they're gearing you towards an event because they want to aim these cosmic things at you so that you accept the fact there might be less of you around. You will accept the fact that some people are just going to go by the wayside because it's their time, which, yes, I'm not actually contesting, but they will want you to accept all of these things so that when you see certain things happen, oh, when the millions and millions die type of concept, that you'll be okay with it. And you should never be okay with it. This is my piece on this particular subject. I can go into questions.
Well, again, and I've said this before, that, when we talk about what happened.
It's another great flood type of scenario, I might add.
A different type, but a different type, because medically, again, the events that occurred from 2020 on, and then what they convinced people to do, and again, something that really wasn't a vaccine by any way, shape, or form, that I, had said many years ago, that I'd also, say again, the alterations to RNA is neurodegenerative. So if you were trying to do something like that, it's actually very intelligent, because it could potentially speed up processes in the body that would have happened 20 years from now, or begin to happen.
Yes.
But to speed these things up. So it's one of those things where issues are going to come about that people are never going to put two and two together, where its origin
They think it's holy, or they think it's a disease, and it's neither in this respect, but it is bringing forth, say when they lengthened the life of the human body, what happened to the mind at that point? Did the mind still degenerate? Did the brain still fall into diseases such as dementia and Alzheimer's, which were also induced by memory wipes, things of that nature, reboots to the brain, experiments going on, things of that nature. But the main premise is they wanted to extend the human life. Well, the way that the telomeres are set up from the stunted growth, and also the toxins in your atmosphere, what did they think was going to happen when this took place? This is what's happening again now. They are attempting to play the hand of fate or the hand of God again. They're attempting to buck nature once again. What did they think was going to take place? They knew chaos was going to happen. This is why you're seeing so many bouts of dementia and Alzheimer's in your modern day. It's these energies that are accentuating. It's this acceleration that's going on. If you think you're moving faster, like you're moving faster through a tunnel, people say this is a shift or going to 5D and all this other stuff. No, none of those. But yes, you are being accelerated. It is you specifically. It's not just the planet. The planet is going through its own terraforming. You too, as a people, are being terraformed. This is what is going on currently.
So again, the goal here is to bring about awareness, because again, people do have co-creative abilities to say no, to say this is unacceptable.
Society is being terraformed. You picked at it through the entropy conversation, which was brilliant.
Right. And as you're saying, they're trying to convince you to accept things that you should not be accepting.
Yes.
So you have to be aware of it. That's the importance of these conversations, to kind of do our best to bring these things out. I think more now, of course, than even years ago when we started this. It's like before, we were kind of, out in the forest. We think this is coming. There's things that are happening. Now we're in part of it, let's just say, and the body count's all around you. The evidence is all there. Are you going to ignore it, or are you not going to ignore it? Are you going to accept this, or are you going to say absolutely no? Because again, I've always joked that you should be saying clearly no to half of your newscast that's on, that no, you don't accept it. No, you don't agree with it, and make sure that you're really putting those energies out there, because that actually is important. When you think there's nothing you can do, that's not a true statement. So I appreciate that. But what I really, the reason why this was, so important of a conversation with you all as well, is again, to check in, because as you're saying, this is affecting you guys too. It's interesting to me to think, and I may be wrong because I don't know all the details, but I'm going to say what I think, and then you can correct me, that humans are involved with the streaming down. It's not like some crazy alien group trying to take over the world. Our humans are involved with doing this to other humans. I'm a bit disturbed to think that, excuse me, we are already out there. We're already in spacecrafts. We're already all that's going on. And then all of these people, you know, who are in whatever position they're in, whether they're in a military that most people don't know exists or whatever, do they even understand what they're participating in to actually kill humanity?
Not always. They're very, very compartmentalized, but there are some that do understand, and also some that have been hit with the Dumbining. You've heard of the Gwyn Tower technology. This is actually used within bases to make your servicemen more compliant. If you saw this, it wouldn't look like it in its raw form. It would look like a Tesla coil, but they also have these little brick-like things inside of the bases that look like power boxes that line the hallways. And this actually, unbeknownst to some of your servicemen, make them more compliant with orders. Like if somebody ordered one of them to shoot one of their own family members, some of them would do it. It's your Manchurian candidate to a T. If this were switched off right now, people would begin to realize, some would begin to realize what is going on. But at the same time, some of them are susceptible to this, and they're being told that, oh, you have COVID, or you have this, or you have, there's something wrong with you, or buck up soldier, buck up buttercup kind of thing. They're being you're being distracted against the greater concerns, including your disclosure narrative, I might add. And also, there is something that I do wish to point out. You're going to see a drama form if you have not seen this already. And some of your disclosure community, as far as even the control concerns go, where some put the value of one, like he says, one arrow attack above many others. It's like he wants to compare it to a show called Midnight Texas, whereas somebody gets scratched by a demon and all the other superheroes in the story make this humongous deal about it. In this, it's the same thing, where you'll see like a V2K attack, or you'll see something that was very, very, I don't want to say minor. I don't want to degenerate or degrade people's positions, but you'll see others make this. They should be making a big deal about the thing that exists, but you'll also see another form of escalation where it's like what he says: Batman and the criminals escalating because one form the other form the other. You'll see true benevolent people talking about their V2K concerns and also things going on with disclosure and all this other stuff. Then you'll have this other form that will make a drama or a play or theater out of it by basically uh, showing a more fake version of it, where they start to play out in a play out saying how dramatic this is, or they'll say that this concern is much greater in one area, or forget this other area, or there'll be a move counter move. You'll start to see more of that drama, but you'll also start to see hmm, you'll start to see more degrading in some of the business areas. You'll start to see people buckling that normally would not have. It is very, very important right now that you do not buckle. It is very, very important that you know who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where you're doing it at all times. Remain grounded. The grounding is very, very important. As he said, making a crystal grid incorporating copper, shungite, and crystals. What he did was put copper pipe down into the ground around the house, or at least a part of it. You don't need the whole thing. Crystals forming a grid in the yard. I will say that this actually does help with this field. It literally disperses it through the earth better. And you would think the earth would be okay with this right off the bat, but there are some areas that have more quartz than others. If you can find a way to make a crystal grid around your property, you would start to diminish the qualities of this Dumbining field. And I have to giggle whenever he calls it this because of the movie, but because of the drama around it, because of the tale that's being woven around this. Oh, you're the event, the shift, and even Isaac told him when he looked into his old tarot cards that he'd made one called the shift, of like an Earth Mother holding two Earths. He said this. He told him this was more important than any other card that he had done, because this was also part of the farce as well. Is there like up there with your indigo children, but because that was part of alien experimenting, saying also people saying, oh, children born later would save the planet. No, this is a hero complex. Is the shift an event? Yes, but there's also Earth shifts and Earth's energy is happening right now. Is there a precession of the equinoxes? Yes, there is. Uh, this is another part of your puzzle piece right here. All of these things combined are what you are witnessing. This field, though, has been induced by some beings that want to do the think they're doing the right thing by having the lesser of two evils, or have you walk the lesser wheel of pain, or there's also maliciousness that is also doing this because of that yield that you have been told about, which that's far more complex, and you've heard people talk about this before. Now, are you guys being protected business wise? Why you can't get a shop off the ground? Why you can't get this and this and that? And is Valiant Thor responsible for some of this? Yes, but he believes the buffer is being put in place because of the aftermath of what's after this. Is it important to have open shop space? Is it important to have open businesses? Yes, and you should hang on to this with for dear life. But the missing pieces formed by vanishing expressions and energies, as you always say, will need to be filled in later on. And I'm not saying 20 years from now, I'm not saying 30 or 50 years from now. You will see this in real time. You will see this right now if you have not already. And this field can't last forever. You cannot bombard a planet for never. You cannot have people circle the toilet forever. And we're not saying over a 20 to 50 to 100-year period. People say, oh, this will go on for a long, long time. They're trying to get you to accept it more, but it cannot go on. This has been our observance. We're not in agreement with all other tactics out there, even Valiant Thor's, even Odin's, any of them. There are to each his own, and other people and other races have their own tactics, and that might have a common goal. But it doesn't mean that we always approve, as he said, of the way certain things are done and how they're done. But the results, yes, we do approve.
So I know, at times, you guys kind of speak something that's more personally affecting us, but bringing that conversation out to the public as a whole, because for myself, as I said earlier, when you have this craziness, when you have these energies, when you have this entropy, when you have this dominating or mind control, I do worry about people, maybe picking a time that isn't a time to do something. Maybe they're being influenced, so they will lose their life savings, so they will lose things like that as a part of a personal entropy, because I think those energies are actually real and going on right now.
Or preserving something that unfortunately has been so far corrupted, or a company that may be at a time where it needs to transform into something totally different. And I'm not saying don't hold on to these assets. Well, I'm not saying this at all, and also not begrudging the hard work that has gone into this in the business world. Yes, so and we are all in favor of creativity. Yes, now is the time for creativity. Absolutely. This is badly needed right now. Is it time to say preserve what should not be? No.
So, and I agree with that statement because it's so I feel this is very complicated because you don't know from one soul to another. I think, what it is that maybe they need to shed something, including a business. Maybe they need some of these things. I think it's hard to know where it is, but there's also the unfairness of a domination and control
Yes.
that's trying to affect people.
And that's
as
also
well.
the case of the entropy. You shouldn't be allowing the bullying of the entropy on you either. So this must be noticed as well.
So this is a complicated thing. So, it's very difficult to give this generalized statement that says, don't do something now or do something now, because you don't know where the person and whatever they're involved in, is it meant, as you just said, to fall aside? Is it meant to make an attempt and be able to push through it? Is it some overage that's trying to just get you to destroy what you have?
Yes.
It's hard to know where people are and what's going on with them. So the best that I feel, and please contribute to this, is that all we can do is have the conversation that all these factors are going on at one time.
Yes, it's all going at one time. They're also in the entropy, they're trying to get rid of what you call riffraff or duplicated items. You've heard this phrase used quite a bit. You're hearing different, how can I put it, elitist type of people you have run into even of late, and others can relate to this, where they say, "Oh, this item is a duplicate," even if it is not. And this is something that has irked him to no end, knowing full well this is actually has its roots somewhere else in overage. In this, I can honestly say you were picking this up correctly. They're attempting to trim the fat in that particular way, but in that hastiness of theirs and the bad guys that are out there to do things like this, in that haste, they are opening the door for something even more potent to come in, even if it is seemingly duplicate, even if it is all the same story you've seen 1,000 times. There's going to be something else there too. There's going to be more of a freedom to do it. The merchants will have more power, you see, like they did in the Black Death time. That's why they attacked the merchants first, like during the COVID time, like what you guys assessed very brilliantly, I might add. They attack that first because it's a point of power. They want people giving it unto Caesar. They don't want people finding their own way. And people will catch on to this fairly quickly. And it's not going to take forever for this to happen either.
So moving this conversation on to, the interest of how is this affecting your society and the other places like where Elena and Vesa are, or the other worlds within worlds that we're talking about, because it's hard for me to imagine that if there is this intent to saturate the earth with certain types of energy, that it can't be, it has to, you would think, spread amongst everyone else.
Not always. The introverse is virtually untouched by this to an extent. They are getting affected because you guys are getting affected. The outer world, Midgard, is being directly affected. Think of the heat shield that is on the outside of a shuttlecraft. Does it not heat up the inside of the craft too, to an extent where they're sweating on the inside a little bit, not just from nerves of getting back to Earth? Yes, but everybody, the people in the introverse, at least some of them, are biting their nails watching this happen. Our people are being directly affected like yourselves. There are some forest people that are being affected. Of course, there are all multitude of species of our kind and types of our kind. We're like you, just like how sugar and toxins affect you and us. So do these energies. And watching these things happen, there was an entropy with our own society where your military tried to cull down some of our elders so that some of our young people would be in a more dumbing state. Sound familiar? Just like in your Star Trek Picard, where you saw the AI dumbing down the young people, you see that in your society now. They tried that on us, but realized the wisdom of the ancients were abating some of that dumbing. So they tried to take out some of our ancients. It didn't quite work the way they thought it would, so they tried to hunt us down like we were animals. The same thing with the dogmen. And they can attribute this to their own at their own time, but in their own show. But in this respect, this is affecting us and what you would call, or what Odin would call, Midgard here, the middle ground, the staging area, the in between. Some foolish people have said this is like the flat Earth type of thing, middle, flat, no, round, always has been, by the way. The worlds within worlds are also round nesting dolls of different shapes and sizes. I mean, sphere, but different sizes and landmass and water layouts and stuff like that. The Elaine and Vessa's world, you're looking at the same sky. You're even looking at some of the same states, like they're in Nevada. You're looking at a different version of Nevada. One would think this is multiverse. No, it is because those energies are so close together, and the portals intersect those spots in Nevada, Red Rock Canyon, Valley of Fire, and the Strip. Whereas they get into these different areas, and it is no different than in your Harry Potter world, where they go into these different areas that look exactly the same, like different, like a train station that they go through a pillar, and there's the same train station. You see, so there are those commonalities, and the energy. Some of the worlds were made to mimic those things because the people there liked it too, and terraformed it as well. So you have a mixed bag, but on land investors world, are they being affected? Are their workforces being affected? Are their governments being affected? Yes, to an extent, but not like Midgard. This is where the staging area is here. And this is why you will have people like Valiant Thor saying you are wild cards in this. You have the freedom to move about and actually change this more so than some of them do.
So, I'm actually at a loss, so I'm just gonna open the floor for you to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I find these conversations are very important. I don't want to make them too dramatically long because I think there's a lot of information within them. So I just open the floor to have you add anything you want to.
Drama is the key word here. You're seeing this in your political theater puppets, like the phrase my brother came up with. Seymour, he's waving at the moment. He can talk at some point on this as well. But you'll see more drama, more distraction. This is the key. Distraction, distraction, distraction. You must discern what they are distracting against, and are they pulling you away from your core values? Are they pulling you away just by even partisan politics? This is actually very important. Normally, we wouldn't bring up politics in any stretch of the imagination, but the theater puppets is key right now to distracting people from your political people. And I'm not going to mention the names even on your Rumble station. We've learned hard way on that particular way as well. This needs to be addressed because it's distraction, distraction, distraction. There are at least 50 to 100 layers of distractions at any given time that you are seeing it on a minute level from your different shows that are out there. There are true benevolent ones that are out there, like some of your animal ones that you watch, like your veterinary ones and stuff like that. Some of those are true, but then you drift into the drama area as well. You drift over into your Skinwalker ranches, and you drift over into your other areas like your Kardashians, and you drift over into these other areas. And yes, Seymour, I will not name drop anymore. But in this respect, I needed to a point of comparison. The good ones, like your Dr. Poles and stuff like that, this is why he's paying attention to that more, because that's where heart space is. When you drift into areas where there is not heart space and it is just theater, it is and not the good movie kind either. You're going to see some hypnotic stuff from there, and you're going to see some of the woke stuff be withdrawn from there. But there's going to be a new drama that takes its place, just like Indiana Jones with the taking the statue and keeping a sandbag in place. It's the same thing. You're going to see drama, 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 and it's going to settle after a while. Watch for these things, but don't get sucked into them. This is where I'm at. Seymour is also complaining that I'm going on and on, but he does the same. So I figured, well, I'm coupled with him, we would do the same. So, a peace to everyone listening. Nahum always. And we approve of our products being made. We approve of our shirts being made. We approve of this. And the reason the logo was in delay is because of some of these very same energies. You'll see that at some point here. We have been pestering Bjorn a little bit, probably a little unfairly with that. But in this particular way, we will let this drop. So thank you, everyone. All right. Yeah, Seymour kept doing this to him like this. When they know this is a universal symbol of time, time's up. So, so if you see a guide or anybody doing that, that's what they're trying to say is that they wrap it up. Or begin something. So yeah, what's the hurry, guys? What is it? Is it because of all this going on, and that there might be some tidal forces like blowbacks and stuff like?
It just feels like less is more these days. That just get really good conversation, even if it's shorter, because I think it will help people smaller bites. But
yeah. And Seymour is saying, my brother, like yourself, meaning me, has a tendency to babble. So, because he likes being on there and doing stuff, and having his photograph taken and all that stuff. So, well, so does Seymour, because he's in a photograph I have. So is your brother Mirnak and Morak. They're both in there too. So, okay.
Well, this is the one of just take that off.
Yeah.
Just show them because we made it on a little coaster.
Yeah.
But
that's Fuma right there.
That was taken off of
Some butte.
Thumb Butte. Some of you knows this already.
Yeah, and you can see his
What-
face up close and
What
everything. Yeah.
happened is that Chris was just there and told to just turn around and take a photograph. And that's literally what he did. And he obviously started to make himself visible, although he did not make himself visible.
Yeah, well, I was told we met each other halfway to where he could come in,
Yeah.
where his energy wasn't affecting mine. But yeah, I have that around. There's a lot of energy that comes out of that. Those are available in the merch store as well. But yeah, but
We were amazed when we
yeah.
saw the photo because it's kind of the, again, it's that dark shadowing. The trees didn't make it. Nothing made that.
Mhm.
But it definitely was a
Definitely him. Yeah, we went all the way.
him, and definitely a wonderful, in my opinion, a wonderful picture.
Yeah, and I could see him doing this. Seymour goes, talk about theater. Right. Again, my brother does this, so he's doing this rapid. So okay. Thank you everybody for watching this impromptu episode of the World of Sasquatch. I am going to include those other videos in there. They think that's prevalent. I know the forest people were involved showing me some of those things. Even if I don't always feel them around, that they're doing this. They different opinion from some of these other factions, and they made it Fuma made it quite clear who he agreed and who he disagreed with. So that's the thing. They do disagree. They're not all cohesive folks. So do you have anything to add before I close the circle?
No, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation.
Okay. I now close this circle within true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now. Okay, what is interesting, and this bears a show, and by the time you're seeing this, more than likely we've recorded it. I'm just logging this today. After I talked to Bjorn, we had sum up, we had Valiant Thor come through when him and I spoke, and we've been rather angry at him because he's been holding some of our business stuff back. And he says it's because something, we wouldn't be able to find resources for it later because of some upcoming thing that I'm not sure what this is all about. I'm not gonna go into that too much, but spoke to him earlier about this, and basically we're trying to get a shop going. Even had I did a GoFundMe. 3 hours later, it's canceled. Try to get a shop in Virginia Beach. Trying to sell product. Have not been able to sell product in multiple months, and we're stuck with that. But we got all these bins full. I did that for the holidays. Nothing. But next to nothing. There's maybe a couple of things, like literally 2 or 3. But the thing of it is, I've also been in this bored, insane mindset, and it's these blobbish energies that are out there right now. What I've said in past recordings about this energy from space going through the AI, all that. Recent events here in Virginia Beach is a man that drove off the pier that's on the boardwalk near the Neptune statue. Drove off. Google Earth happened to catch. Now, if you go to Google Earth of that pier, Virginia Beach Boardwalk, you will see the car in the water. On Google Earth Google happened to be photographing. We went down there tonight, and it's a sad energy that's down there. It is just, I felt this god awful energy, and the way I've been feeling about myself, the environment, everything. This person, it's been feeling, what I've been feeling is what he felt, and vice versa, because it's just been, Joanna's been in a bad place, I've been in a bad place. All the sales, all this other stuff. Why couldn't we just, move forward with this one thing and it not be noticed by whatever is to come? And with Valiant Thor, that's not good enough. He compares it to if you're trying to prevent a forest from burning, you remove a line of trees, kind of thing. And this has happened with Bjorn. I'm not going to go into his personal situation. Just know others are experiencing these things where it's a series of unfortunate events to the extreme on acid, and it just doesn't stop. Normally they'll stop. Normally they do stop, and also with the ghosts around, and humans, there's been this massive dumbining, and I've said that in other recordings.
With humans, they're doing just unbelievably stupid things. And ghosts, they don't listen to you. They used to in the past, and they don't listen to you. This person walked up. We were close to the pier, but not close enough. But it was close enough to where this ghost of this person noticed my light. I give off a particular frequency that it's not catnip per se, but certain frequencies will see it, certain energies will see it more than others do. And mine, people that are in a certain frequency, like red pillars versus blue pillars, let's just say, their light shines brighter. That's what the red pill thing meant, not political parties like people thought. In this, he came to me, and I just felt his extreme sadness, because he zoomed off the pier into the water, and that's where he drowned. What happened was, he said his name was Richard. He said people around him got dumb. They just started to get dumb. Otherwise, intelligent people started to get stupid. And even his spouse, everybody. He just lost everything. And this is one of the fears that we've had, that we are just cast aside, forgotten, and we just lose everything, and people just go on their merry way. Even people looking at our website don't see our material. They get confused. And this has been a complaint I've had for months with both websites. And people ask me how to find the website while they're emailing me from the website. This is up there with when I was a child, my father, when I went to Rendezvous, people would point at the fire and ask if it's a real fire, or the two people at the post office months ago when I went in there and they were wondering what paper and resin were. And not that they meant, what's the resin made into, or what's this papers or forms listed on the form, what it's all about. No, they didn't know what the words were. And this was just something unbelievable to me. My frequency was clashing with whatever programming they had. And people just fall into this daze where they just do they're like this. Programming clash, like on Gene Roddenberry's Earth's Final Conflict. You saw the programming clash, where this woman was like this. That meant frequency clash. You see that everywhere. But this man came to me and said this stuff was happening around him. He was seeing it. He couldn't do anything to stop it. And this goes into the entropy conversation. And unbelievable sadness. He finally had enough. And I've been at this stage too. Not that I'd drive off a pier. But that's where it either goes insane, violence, or just plain stupidity. And the stupidity one seems to be reigning supreme right now. And I've been in this mode where it's like, well, there's muggles and there's regular humans. Lane and Vessa Isaac hate it when I do that crap like that, because they see everybody as magical. They're just under a spell at the moment. What happened was he then got in the car with us, and he was talking the whole time, saying he couldn't believe what happened. He was a business person. The entropy got him. He didn't say entropy, but he said it just decayed rapidly over the past year, and it wasn't even because of the COVID thing. I mean, yes, that contributed, but there was this entropy, and of course that rapidly started off this big entropy, this stage of entropy. But he didn't use the word entropy or nidgentropy. He just said it decayed. He used the word decayed. And what happened? He basically said all his resources just dwindled away very quickly. He had nothing left. He hadn't even bathed in a month. He was just in his car. He was barely eating because everybody left him. Everybody just kind of went off in a daze. They're like, oh my God, what? Oh, he's being so mean to us. He's so mean. It's like that. And I've run into that. I could say something perfectly benign to somebody. Why are you being mean to me? I'm not. What are you, 6? What? What's wrong with you? And people have just gotten so stupid. Even one of my mother's friends went back to work and said, these aren't the people, said to my mother, these aren't the people we knew, or this isn't the people we knew. These people are so scattered. And he ran into this. He couldn't take it anymore. I feel his pain. Him and me were in alignment in this area. I'm at that point to myself. Drove up the pier, died. No ghouls could collect over there because it's salt water. They can't be there, allergic to salt. They can't be near it. Even though they are part of nature, they're the carrion eater types. Can't be near it. I had in my head, like, it's almost like, I visualized myself walking up to the pier throwing shungite in or something and just seeing his ghost, sending his ghost on. I actually did that while we were in the car. I sent him on. But he was intelligent. He wasn't like these other ghosts. He wasn't stupid. He was perfectly normal. It seems the crazy ones are the intelligent ones, the ones not under the spell, which that might not surprise any of you. But what my intuition was picking up on, I felt like the car, like I was looking at a car underwater, and I felt like he was still there, like he was coming up out of the water. I came to find out from Joanna's son Andrew tonight. He said not only did people film him crashing off the pier and put it on the internet, and all the cameras on the boardwalk caught him, or the ones in the area, but he's still there. The car is still there. The body is still there. All of it's still there. Cops are trying to figure out a way, the city's trying to figure out a way to remove it. It's in a precarious spot at the end of the pier. If they don't do something, he's gonna fall apart, and it's all gonna come washing on the beach at some point. There's gonna be a storm, and something's gonna happen, and it's gonna be gross. But, Isaac, you found that funny. That was you interjecting that. But this guy was just like one of us. I hate saying magical lineage and muggle, but because I'm in the Harry Potter shtick at the moment, but I know we're all magical, but he's seeing people just kind of go around us, like people, like when I was in alien abduction scenarios, people just wandering around. They're naked, but they're wandering around talking about the weather, talking about football, and I'm like, guys, don't you notice you're on an alien ship? And I've had a feeling that in those scenarios, they were being tested to see how susceptible they were. And that's also why the military come and abduct some people or around some people, because they're testing where their mind is. And then the military, even going around in neighborhoods with little psionic weapons, try to bring people's vibe down. Some people it just does not work. They have an immunity to it. Like myself. It hurts, but it doesn't do anything. It might depress me. It might hurt. It might make me vertigo, dizzy, all of it. It's not going to do what they want. Just some people are that way. And these are the people that are weathering this storm. Or they leave rapidly in a big kaboom or explosion supernova like that guy did. But I was wondering why that death energy was still there. Now I know. The ocean will take care of it. Rest assured, the ocean, the sea will take care of it. There's ghosts of the sea as well that are around. Of course, out at sea from shipwrecks and everything. Of course, you have the murder, all that, and sea legends. So he just became part of that legendary status. But with him, I felt more of a rapport than these other ghosts. These other ghosts, I hate treating them like vermin or roaches or rats or something, but they kept coming in our house. We did a crystal grid today, me and Laverne did, and my mother, and we made a crystal grid around the property. Also copper piping, iron nails, a whole bit, stones. I will add to it and tweak it as I see fit. But it more enriched the energy. There hasn't really been an issue since. I recommend crystal grids, definitely. We had a bunch of crystals like these from Arizona, and we may use more of these and tweak this as time goes on. Even though this is a rental, we can always replicate this somewhere else. Get the supplies again and replicate it again. But it won't be free, but this was. But we got it from Arizona quartzite, Thumb Butte. But point is, we had to keep enriching the energy and fixing these things because the stupid ghosts, some of the entities, everything tried to keep running the barricade. Then I meet this ghost after having spoken to Valiant Thor about him trying to protect us from this entropy, and we would be around to pick up the pieces afterwards. I was like, isn't that a have and have not? Can't I just have my stuff somewhere and sell it, and actually I won't go insane if I'm doing my thing? And that was never really completely clarified, that we would get the chance. Even Ragnar was saying warriors would get their chance at some point. With what? This is what concerns me. What is the end game? What is all the distractions, everything that has been building towards against? And it's not just aliens, folks. It's towards something else. Not like Handmaid's Tale level invasion. I'm talking about, might be a conflict, war, of attrition, something. I don't know. I know it's something big, and and all the beings are acting like there's something. I'm not trying to co-create it, but intuition's telling me it's correct. But this guy, I could relate to him. I feel his pain. But we'll go into it, of course, more on this show. Maybe he'll be transitioned enough to come through. That'd be actually pretty awesome, Marjorie. We've had other ghosts come through. We've even had Van Gogh come through at one point. I was too much in a depressed state. I'm like him as well. I was too much in a depressed state. I couldn't deal at that point when we went to the Van Gogh exhibit. I would welcome him to. I'm at a better place now, having encountered this person. I get these crazy energies. They're horrible. But we got to weather this storm. So I'm going to end this here. His name was Richard, by the way. They didn't release the names, but he told me his name was Richard. If somebody can confirm his name, please let me know. So look up. They do have, or at least for the moment, have stuff about him on YouTube and on Facebook already, and on Google Earth. Look it up. The boardwalk pier in Virginia Beach near the Neptune statue, or the pier before the Neptune statue. So it is 9:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, February 1st, 2024. Thank you. Okay, more on that guy. Last night, when Joanna was bringing up, this is an important clue from what I'm about to say, and it'll make sense when I put context to it. We were in the middle of talking about this, and all of a sudden a barrage of distractions came through. Her son calls. She gets a text from work. Her keys disappear for hours and hours on end, and are found this morning in a pocket. Scatterbrain moment. These were all mind control moments, and her and I had an argument on this. But the core argument here is those distractions were timed for what reason? For what from what epiphany or realization that would more enrich the soul once found out. Time delayed enough to cause chaos, knowing that it wouldn't be for very long. And the answer in this is quite simple. Bjorn and I were discussing this in one of his sessions, and at some point he may let me publish these at some point or other. But this one particular crux, Sean Bond spoke to him also in a session. It said that there were, not only were many eyes on him, but there were also, I'm thinking more implied upon the bunch of grapes, which involves altars as well. I mean, there's altars and there's other expressions of the oversoul which an altar can fall with from within. You have the totality of an oversoul, that you have the multiverse of them. You've heard me say what doesn't happen here happens there. Well, you have several in a timeline that can occur to you. And I kept using the word variant, and beings kept getting mad at me, saying, no, not variant people. I get that from Marvel. Variant, multiple timelines on the Tree of Life, or Yards of Drill. Which makes sense, but variant's a slur. I found out that's why that was used. Hollywood using that as a slur. Variant, and that's also how Enlil would think. Oh, you're variants. Your variants. Just like he has several existing at once that are more good versus his totally evil one that's out there. Polar opposites, yin yang, duality. But these alternates, these other people, work in polar opposite, or bearing a cross. No fun intended. In this case, it's more the meaning of the concept. that so you don't have to. Say if there's some energy that just needs to go somewhere and be done and go off to spirit. like how animals, when they're around you, they take on something from you and then they move on. Kind of the same concept on acid, if you get my meaning. With his, I saw alternates. I saw a female business person that was successful. I saw a banker that was actually more aligned with some of the banking families. That the oversoul did that so that he personally didn't have to. That was a different expression. Then there was a homeless person that was homeless so that Bjorn didn't struggle. In this case, I was told in this area I had 3 alone in this area. I would be kind of miffed that there's a successful business owner. That's more the green-eyed monster coming up. But this is more meaningful than that. This, walking on the boardwalk, I felt something familiar, like this big atomic blast of an energy. You know, you could just feel not only the death energy from the body. You know, when the soul releases the human body, well, the cells just release this energy that kind of permeates an area. They showed that in Babylon 5, where a bad guy got killed around some telepaths, and one of the telepaths, Byron, was describing how the essence went up the wall and dissipated, and soaked into the wall and dissipated, and then residuals can stay for a long time. Completely accurate to when that last emotion takes place, so that last volcanic burst takes place. Joanna's brother Lee Michael, when he died, he was also saying his soul left fast, but the body exuded this energy. Ghouls feed off of that. Draco feed off of that. It's kind of a form of looshing, but it's a death stink. And then, of course, the body rots and it creates more of it. But it's a putrescence or of some kind. Decay, decomposition is part of that process, but there's a whole totality of the concept. The end of that pier had that. But I was unaware that his body was still down there with the car. They hadn't gotten it because they couldn't. Some engineers are trying to formulate a way to get it. It's in a precarious spot. And it can be seen on Google Earth. People caught it on photograph, film it. I believe it's on YouTube and Facebook. I will check on this, but the validity of that. Her son, Andrew, or Joanna's son Andrew, told us all about it. That people need to film things like that. They need to show that these things are happening. I've had this come up to where I've wanted to make my mark. Kind of like a Viking warrior wanting to leave his saga. And I even told Joanna the whole epic about the keys last night, the argument we had. The saga of the keys was like a Viking saga. And I didn't realize how more right on I was about the totality of this concept. Where all this emotion I kept putting out there going, I want this shifted. This putrescence of a stagnant energy shifted. So that it's not my burden. Put it to another part of the multiverse, or have it reflected in the multiverse so it's not me. And I put that out there very strong, and I have been for a couple of years now. What happens? So this person has every downfall in his life someone could possibly have, from stupid family members to friends walking away, lovers and wives walking away, business opportunities crumbling and failing. That part of the oversoul expressed itself to where it didn't touch me, that it touched a particular individual, and I got to see what that looked like. That person was part of the oversoul bunch of grapes. One of those 3 that I was told that was in the area. I'm curious about the other 2. Of course, I believe one of the other ones is Joanna. At least that's my theory anyway. But then that leaves one left. So I'm curious as to what burden and or task of the overall soul mission this took on. If it's Joanna, that means there's something she's doing that, so I don't have to do it, but it's still a oversoul task. And I know everybody's one in benevolent source creator, but you have your own souls and personalities. I'm thinking different oversoul, but together, like soulmates that way. There's the two concepts, the oversoul with the two avatars that got separated, and then there's also the two oversouls at one point that were one thing from source and became separated, and then created their own avatars that come together. It's a reverse polarity in that, but it's the same thing, essentially. And Joanna always saw this being pulled apart like taffy, by a creator council in the past. That's where the character of Bron comes from, and Fasten, and Jevby, and any of those figures that were back millions of years ago. That's a conversation that's worth having here at some point. But that said, that's also where our friend Albert and April see them talking to Albert talks to this big white-headed guy named Fasten, and I saw Bjorn and me and Woldar and me and Poseidon and Odin and Enlil and everybody, Enki and everybody around this huge council table hundreds of millions of years ago, trying to prevent the Ragnarok. And that was back in even before that was Creator Council time, to pull apart the taffy. But I'm getting off track. No pun intended. When that burst took place, it's like when someone's in the SSP and they have the other self that's in that quantumly linked timeline, and then they get looped back, and then all of a sudden this burst of creativity comes forth, because you're not supposed to technically have that quantum link in existence for long. This could have been an alter too, but in any respect, it's still an expression of the Oversoul, regardless of what artificiality got it there. That's important to remember. Doesn't matter if the SSP did it. It doesn't matter if it naturally occurred as a bunch of grapes. Because of the fact that something experienced over here where you don't have to, that is still the same concept. It's still the same. It's the Oversoul expressing itself in an area to burn out something that needed to be. And all of that emotion that came forward, everything that's been happening in the past couple of years, even a few years, like from COVID on, I should say. And also all the calamities from Japan, business stuff failing, all this other stuff. I have totally gotten sick of it. What happens? This burst of energy where you just want to crash through a wall, run along a sidewalk, crash into a building, crash into a pole, jump off the Grand Canyon in a car like Thelma and Louise. What happens? That happens. And the Oversoul did it. Torrent call, whatever you want to call the totality of Oversoul. Giant burst of an atomic-like energy. Boom! What happens when I get up? I feel dazed and confused, and then creativity starts to restore again. So obviously that was quantumly linked to myself, and there was a massive release with that gigantic volcanic explosion where I've constantly felt this in just emotions and I didn't know what it was. Ta-da! Thanks to the Oversoul, now there was this big atomic burst of energy. And voila, balance is restored. I felt it more than most, and I thought that was a little weird yesterday. That one was more emotionally taxing. And then all of a sudden I'm becoming unstable and then stable. Now I'm becoming alright again. Calmer. And then it dawned on me, but just before I turned this on, that he was part of that bunch of grapes. He was one of those three in this area. I'll look more into this concept. You can thank Sean Bond for bringing that up to Bjorn. I knew about it. I knew about the multiverse concept, but it also applies within the same timeline. As you're jumping timelines, too, you're encountering these. Because you're now occupying the same space, and if you're doing the same task, of course, one has to go. Just like in Earth Final Conflict, whereas Liam brings back an alternate universe of this one lady, and there's one in our universe, too, and they collide. It's their form of an incursion, but on a personal level, and they collide. One of them, only one can occupy the space, because they're the same being. Just like in Time Cop, where Jean-Claude Van Damme throws the younger version of, older version into the younger version of Senator Montcalm, and they disappear. That's not quite that dramatic in that respect, but you get what I'm trying to say. But it's more dramatic in the overall action, just like with time travel, whereas Montauk, the guy goes back and kills his own grandfather, comes back, he gets run over by a car. That's time healing itself, like in Terminator Dark Fate. They prevented Judgment Day, but yet a Terminator still appears to kill John Connor because he's part of that overall cycle. So, and the timeline resets. You see what I'm saying? It's the same concept. I don't feel that moon orbiting me anymore. That guy obviously took the moon orbiting with him. And this is where I'm at. So, yeah. Anybody has anything like this remotely happening to them, let me know. So, I'm going to leave this here. Just know that this is what has occurred. It is 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, February 2nd, Groundhog Day, 2024. Thank you. Oh, ironic. It's on Groundhog Day. Repetitious, like the movie. Repetitious cycle coming to an end. He eventually... the movie, it comes to an end when he finds the happier, more cohesive timeline. I just wanted to say that. It is 9:01. Oh, and 9 means completion of a cycle, by the way. Numerology. So it is 9:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, February 2nd, 2024. Thank you.
Well, also keys, car, driving. It's car related. And also the fact that I have a hard time driving because of all that I see and get distracted by. That's another thing. I wish I could, but it's gotten that much. So I wanted to put that analogy in there. These will be added to a show that talks about this. So it is 9:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, February 2nd, 2024. Thank you. Also, it's like Riker in Star Trek Picard Season 3 when you find out his son died, and Picard is basically saying he's projecting onto everybody his traumas and everything, and you find out he's correct, but when, he sees beauty in this nebula they're stuck in, kind of like Farpoint with the big jellyfish and everything, when he sees beauty again, he starts to get his soul back, and then he starts to get his adventurous spirit back. Their son died of it, Troy's, and his son, Thaddeus, dies of a disease in it. They moved to this one planet to try to save him because of the healing properties, and it didn't work. So they eventually figure out they want to move back to the city. They get their spark back. She senses it back in him. Same thing. I kind of see Riker and Troy as kind of like me and Joanna. It's the same thing, and I didn't know what this was, but it's the same analogy. So sensing something different, altered, but now it's restored. And 101, of course. 11, but also a 101 teaching moment there. But that's actually a great example. No one's son died, but yeah, you get the idea. So it is 9:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, February 2nd, 2024. Thank you.
Oh, also to add to the stupid, entropy conversation, the people, the Dumbining, rather, that whole sequence with Saturday Night Live saying the word debanking was not a real word when Trump used it. Yeah, they're trying to make him look stupid, but then they make them look stupid in return. But it's part of the puppet show. It's part of the puppet show. The planned entropy of civilization. They're trying to sometimes make the appearance of dumb, but also sometimes they are dumb. So I just wanted to add that. I saw that on Gutfeld and other shows, news shows and everything, or on the 5 rather. And I'm going, okay, this is obviously part of the dumbing, but also a narrative of trying to dumb down the language as well. Kind of like with the they and the them, where it's a wishy-washy. So, yeah, I'm going to leave that here before I get in a little more trouble. It is 8:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, February 4th, 2024. Thank you. My mother and Joanna made it an interesting point surrounding all this. You know, people believing in the event or believing that something would happen, it didn't go as planned. That it's far above and beyond, you know, very different than people thought would play out. And I agree. It's just like it's the Star Wars Vader dichotomy, and Ryan and I will go into this completely in length. But it's where they had the prophecy of the chosen one that would rebalance the Force. They thought it would be the defeat of the Sith. Nope. It's he went after the Sith, then turned evil and went after the Jedi, claiming both of them and basically getting rid of the divide. So, and even Yoda goes, we must reanalyze. We must reanalyze this prophecy, or reanalyze this prophecy. We must, kind of thing, you know. And it's the same with all of this. Yeah, there's things going on, but what is it? And what's it leading to? Actually leading to, and what does that look like? Above all the narratives that are out there. I totally agree with that assessment. I've always felt that it's going to be far more than what we originally any of us analyzed it to be. We might be seeing bits, pieces, and components, but we're not seeing all of it. So I totally agree with that assessment. Do I think eventually it's positive? Yes, I do. And I've had conversations with people that are still in New Age mode and expecting an ascension, all this, despite no matter what we've said. And I'm not saying you have to only listen to us, but we've put a new perspective out there and people are uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable, maybe you need to take a second look at it. I'm not saying that's always a basis for evolution. Sometimes calming on your plateau is as well. But also, we're not the only ones saying certain things either. We're joining a choir, basically. So, yeah. Just know that we feel it's very vastly different than people are currently interpreting what's going on. So, it is 12:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, February 4th, 2024. Thank you. Oh, here's another example of the dumbing. I was at a psychic fair one time, and this is why I had to stop selling shungite nuggets, because people would pick them up, and I'd go, "What's this? It's on my fingers." And then he'd wipe it on their white pants and go, "You stained my pants." No, you wiped it on your pants. Crap like that. And this is why there's warning labels on shit. I mean, this has happened for years. That type of activity, like caution hot coffee, like the woman that spilled the McDonald's coffee all those years ago, and they had to create a warning label. That type of crap, or the people that they joke all the time, just because you stick a screwdriver in your eye doesn't mean a judge has to make, the government has to make your family independently wealthy. That kind of stuff. That's been around for years. That's no secret, but it's gotten worse. 1,000 times worse. So, yeah, we ran into that. This person was just scowling at us at the psychic fair. This was in 2020, late 2021. And it's like, did you get vaxxed? What's going on? But it's this dumbing that's taking place. The other stuff added to it, like we've said, but it's behavior like that. If people ran into that, also the two ladies at the post office that didn't know what paper and resin were. Quick recap, went in there and to mail something, and they asked me what was resin, because I was mailing something. I said, you mean what resin thing is it made into, like a statue or something like that? Oh, no, what is resin? And then I had papers. What is paper? And they legitimately didn't know that. I'm like, are you kidding me? And that beat the time my father and I said that there was somebody standing in our fire pit, or standing near our fire pit at an event, standing literally in the center of the fire pit. And it's like, something's burning. Yeah, their shoes and their feet, because we smelled skin. And they're like, oh my God, and I was like, yeah, durr. And also the fact that years before that, the ladies at the post office beat the championship belt, or got the championship belt or trophy over the person back in the 92, 93 that said, is that a real fire? But we thought at first they meant the setup, the reenactment with the iron tools and everything, and the iron spigot and everything. And then we started to explain that. They're like, no, is that a real fire? And they actually meant it. So that kind of crap, but it's been enhanced. It's not that it hasn't always been there. It's been enhanced a lot, by a lot. Even though the binary network's been out since the 64 World's Fair, it's been slowly and steadily getting worse. But the 80s felt really good. That's why people like to go back to it and reminisce about it, because that seemed to be relatively safe, like a buffer period in there. But the energies felt normal, weren't as many chemtrails, if any, and then all the stuff happened later on. Chemtrails were part of it too, by the way. So I'm going to leave that here. I don't want to make this film obnoxiously long for all y'all, and for the editing I have to do after. So, or during. So it is because it takes hours to edit one show, sometimes 5 or 6 or even 8. So I don't want that for myself either, or for you to have to sit through a really obnoxiously long video. So it is 2:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, February 5th, 2024. Thank you. A few more good examples of that stupidity wave that's out there. One, you've heard me talk about a prime example of programming, the guy in the airport that told the TSA guy that told people they could keep their shoes on in the San Jose airport, and this is a sensor light. Anyway, that's a prime example of then the other guy that we went up to and said, this guy said we didn't have to. Oh, no, he didn't. He wouldn't have said that. It's federal. And they went back, and somebody had recorded him and said, hey, dummy, this is recorded. The guy wouldn't even look at it. It's like, no, you're going to look at this. And then they went back, showed the guy, and the guy goes, I didn't do this. Are you sure that's me? Yeah, I personally was in the video. So, yeah. I'm like, you can clearly see. It's you. And the guy was terrified. He goes, I didn't do that. I swear to God. We got you on film. It's the programming, that Agent Smith programming, or that Mr. Smith effect crap, where it drops in, causes issues. Another one, Prescott, where somebody said we didn't need something for our driver's license in the DMV. Went up to the window. Oh, yeah, you need all this. The girl at the desk would have told you. No, she said we didn't need that. Oh, she wouldn't have said that. That's the other half of the programming. Oh, no, that person wouldn't have done that. Then, of course, there's the cream of the crop, the creepy homeless person that wandered into our parking space at the Picture Show movie theater in Prescott, Arizona. That was picking her nose. And just stand there doing this. We'd beep the horn. She'd go, we're like, and then go back to picking her nose and doing this. And, hey, crackhead, move. What? Yeah, that. And I knew Isaac was responsible for that one, because we would always call guides that wouldn't do anything pick nosers, or nose pickers. So that was a joke, an inside joke. So, yeah. These, on the women at the post office, I'd said in other videos, didn't know what paper and resin were, stuff like that. These are beautiful examples that if you can record this shit, do it. Please. It could be the America's Funniest Home Videos of retardation at that point, because, it just, record these things and show the programming. Another one is if somebody can't process something you've said to them, if you're in a particular frequency, they'll either snap out of it and start talking normal and go, what was I saying before? Or they'll get up really fast and start blowing, like they can't process. Oh my God. They'll do the hyperventilating crap. And you saw this. I call this the storm cloak effect after Skyrim, where because Ulfric's storm cloak was abducted by Thalmor in it and reprogrammed and broken and reprogrammed, put back out to cause the civil war in Skyrim, because he assassinates High King Torek, his best friend. He was programmed by them, and they even find his dossier in the Thalmor embassy, and it shows that we broke him down, and he is basically our puppet with his Stormcloak cause. But beware, he could completely take over and take the space of the Empire, and he would be a problem at that point too, if it got too strong. So they wanted to cause chaos. They wanted the two sides fighting like the Orions do. Same thing. That's who they were fashioned after. So Yeah, I call it the storm cloak effect. When people just jump up, you see him in the council chambers when General Tullius says something he doesn't like. He jumps up, and he goes, "I won't take this." He starts pacing around like this, and we're like, "Sit down, sit down." I just call it the storm cloak effect. Cloaking the storm, storm cloak distraction. You see, so. It's cold out here. I'm going inside, and it's starting to rain, actually. So it is 6:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Thank you. Prime example of the Dumbining, I mean the best one of all time. It's one, I don't know how I forgot it. It's Homer Simpson. The everyman type, dumb. Even found out he had brain damage from shoving a crayon up his nose, kind of thing. Of a kid that did that, of someone that did that. Oops, I lost a crayon. Went from a choir boy singer to when you could see him in a church singing as a kid, but then then he goes into the creepy voice he has now. Not Dan Castaneda. I'm saying the voice he has, like and you see him do stupid shit constantly. You even see him behind Trump in that famous scene down the escalator where they said came from Montauk Project. Bart to the Future, 2006. Bart goes to 2016, sees Trump elected. That shows that the Montauk Project searched further and further ahead of what was going to happen. They even showed there was the same incident where Trump was down the escalator, the same the same famous scene, the same poster board falls, everything. But in Simpsons, it's Homer following him. Somebody tried to say that it was because dumbasses followed him. I don't buy that, but there was also some argument on that point too. But I don't buy that part. That was just a statement. But Homer, in and of himself, he is literally the allegorical figure of the Dumbining. Literally. Also, the kids are stunted growth. It's basically saying kids will have growth stunted from all the chemicals that are out there. Also, keeping the anti-aging hormones or puberty hormones. They even made it. They even had Lisa say, at one point, they for the show they gave us anti-puberty blockers so that we would remain kids for 15, 20 years. They made that statement. What's happening with the transing of kids? Same thing. So, but I'm a little bit off the mark. That's part of the Dumbining, but Homer is the quintessential allegorical figure of the Dumbining. If you can find something better example, let me know. But the Simpsons is a cabal mouthpiece, kind of like in Men in Black where they use tabloids. It's the Simpsons, like with the Stonecutters. That's supposed to be the Masons. They have also the two political parties. Democrat has Baskin-Robbins for their headquarters, and the Republican Party has Dracula's Castle. So, statements are being made there, obviously, by Matt Groening. But, again, we could go into a whole show about the Simpsons. Homer, allegorical figure of the Dumbining. So, if you can find a better one, let me know. Better example. So it's 8:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. Thank you. Here's another bit of distractive news from ages ago. Little incidences in town. It falls under the Dumbining category, but it falls under the distractive type of thing as well. Where years ago in Chicago, there we go, it's like New York, a bigger Dumbining being tried out there. Years ago, where there was this handicap spot in front of an apartment building. And I saw this on the news too, where there was a resident that was no longer there, had moved away, and they'd had a sign there for years. People would park there, and the meter maid would constantly tick, and it's like, the person's not here anymore. Just remove the sign. And there was this controversy of moving the sign. People refused to pay the fines, and had their credit ruined and had their lives screwed up over it. It's like, there's nobody here. Just remove it. Then one day, the residents got it in the mind to remove it. Somebody went to jail. Oh no, that's a jail time and a fine, a huge one. It's like, the person doesn't live there anymore. We told you to remove it multiple times. You keep ticketing us. We're going to do it ourselves. Eventually, it was just forgotten. The city they ruined people's lives, screwed up people's lives, and then it was just swept under the rug. Stupid little crap like that over nothing. It's really stupid. Okay, I'm told I have to stop this because as I do this more, there are conduits that open. Also, I have a session this morning too that's important. So This is just another one of those things. If you people remember these things from years back, let me know. Especially the things that we're talking about a conspiracy sector. With the Dumbining, of course, people recognize that. But if you recognize some of those weird incidences, those larger, globally oriented type of things, let me know. So, it is 8:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. Thank you. One point that was forgotten, I was reminded by Lane and Vessa that this was forgotten, was for the Dumbining. Of course, the 5G network, of course, the binary network, all that. But then when people's thought forms, some people always say muggle or mug thought forms, worried about, that's what, when people worried about the election, and when Biden and Trump were in the election, and worried about when COVID happened and how everything enhanced, but it was enhanced through the 5G. 5G did the Dumbining, they enhanced, so therefore it's like a mirror, bounced back and forth and went into this shit loop, this infinity loop. And that added to the Dumbining. Chinese finger trap. The more you pull and push around, the more it won't release you. You have to just kind of calm, or like the Force people say, and it looses. It's the same trick. So, from what I understand, that was also a crucial thing, other than the Homer Simpson reference that I forgot. So, it is, just reminded of that. So, it is, and of course it's a 33% of my battery power on my phone. That's a 3 and a 3. Of course, AI, and then that's a validation of that. So, it is 10:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. Thank you.